Oh, ho, ho, ho. What a night we had of NBA basketball. My goodness. All right, I'm not going to waste any time. Let's get right into it. Starting off with the Pacers and the Knicks. This game was incredible to watch. And it was great all the way into the end when the refs decided that they didn't want to let things play out. A couple of plays immediately stick out in my mind that has everyone talking. The first one being the kickball that wasn't a kickball. Neesmith completely hits this thing with his hand. Another thing that's weird about this is you can't challenge this. You can't review this. This seems like one of those things that should be reviewable. You really should have something in place, NBA. There's a lot of calls that are like that, but right now this is the topic of discussion, so I don't understand how that's not reviewable. And then the next play on the other side is the moving screen that was called on Myles Turner. Now, if you take it and you look at it and you slow it down, I mean like slow it down, you can make the argument that yes, when he set the screen, DiVincenzo didn't get the opportunity to move past it. But I mean, that's taking it to the letter of the law. If you did that for every screen in the NBA, you know how many illegal screens you would have? It's sort of like the holding thing in football. You can call holding on any play in the NFL, but most of the time it doesn't get egregious to the point where it warrants a call. In this situation, same thing. Yes, you can call it an illegal screen, but if you really want to take it down to that, then most screens in the NBA are illegal. I also like the way the Pacers took the loss. To me, this is a sign of a really well-coached team. They didn't make excuses. They called it out. They said what it was, but they're on to the next one.
I think it's unfortunate that it happened. We reviewed it. They still called it a legal screen, but it's the playoffs, man. I feel like DiVincenzo did a good job of selling it, and for the most part, you can't leave the game to be decided by the refs. So we have to take accountability as well.
Of course, you don't know if the Pacers would have came out of this game with a win if these calls hadn't been made, but I have to say, honestly, just not giving them a chance after everything they did in this game is a travesty in and of itself. And Knicks fans, you can't feel good about this win, right? I mean, if I was a Knicks fan, I'd feel terrible. Just feels kind of icky, When you get that win when you really don't know if you should have. The call's one in your favor, so hey, you take it and run with it. But at the end of the day, you just feel kind of gross. It's like taking dirty money or something like that. Now, I hope this isn't a 2018 Cavaliers situation where a game that they should have had totally derails the series, so then they can't bounce back from it. I think the difference between that series and this series is the fact that the Pacers actually have enough to compete with the Knicks, in my estimation. In 2018, the Cavaliers were completely outmatched by the Warriors, and if they would have stole that game, they would have gave themselves a little motivation to keep going and hopefully win more. In this series, I feel like the Pacers feel like they're as good or better than the Knicks, so they should have won game one and they're going to come out with advantage in game two. They almost took game one, actually, and they were up for most of it. Also, Obi Toppin, this between the legs dunk on the fast break is probably one of the craziest things I've seen. You don't do this in a game, first of all, and you don't do it on the road, second of all. Amount of confidence that it takes to pull this off. When I first saw it live, I didn't think I saw what I saw. Did he just go between the legs in game, in a playoff game, in the Garden? And a lot of people look at that and just go, what's the big deal? He just did a fancy dunk. If you understand hoops, you know how incredibly disrespectful this is to do this on your opponent's floor. You're pretty much styling on him.
Oh, you mad because I'm styling on you. You got better gear because styling on me. Listen, plus the cowl is on me. To act up and you'll fucking have to lay down.
Being on the road of a playoff game, being up by that much and then hitting between the legs. Ew. This is what I was saying about the dunk contest. The dunk contest dunkers are great in-game dunkers, but when you have nobody around you and it's all up to your creativity, that's where it falters. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the All-Star break because that's its own thing. But I will say that a lot of the in-game dunks don't translate to the dunk contest. And then how about the former teammates OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam going at each other? This is one matchup that we need to watch very closely. And the reason I say that is because OG Anunoby is the best defender that the Knicks have. And Pascal Siakam was cooking him all night. I don't think I've seen a player cook OG like this since he came to the Knicks. He was making him look like he wasn't even there, and supposedly this is supposed to be the lockdown guy. Then there's Halliburton, who is going in the opposite direction. I don't know what's going on with him. Is it a mental thing? Is it a physical thing? Is it scheming? I couldn't tell you, but he only scored, I think, 6 points, if I'm remembering that correctly. How is it that the guy that was leading the charge for the Pacers early in the season only musters up 6 points? That is incredible. Now, he's been averaging like double-digit assists, so I guess you could get your value from him that way. The idea that he's a pass-first point guard shouldn't mean that he never, ever shoots. That's the weird thing. So game 2 is going to be supercharged. I expect the refs to be honed in, which unfortunately means there's going to be a lot more foul calls, which I hate. But they have to rein the series in, because if they don't, it's going to get crazy. This is starting to look like the old Knicks Pacers series that they used to have back in the day. On to game 2. Game 2, Nuggets and Timberwolves. And how many people outside of Minnesota had the Timberwolves going up 2-0 on the Nuggets in the first 2 games of the series? Put your hand down. I know you're lying. There wasn't anybody who had this coming. Yes, you might have picked Minnesota to come out of this series, but I don't know that you were thinking sweep. And there's still a lot more games to be played, hopefully, maybe, if Denver gets it together. But it's looking very sweep-like in the early goings of this series. I said that the Minnesota Timberwolves matched up well with the Nuggets because they had the length, but I thought that the trump card, Nikola Jokic, would be enough to sort of figure some things out and get through that Timberwolves defense. I have been incredibly wrong.
Things to do.
Oh, where you think you're going? I'm going downstairs. Oh, there's a toll in the hall now. $10.
Look, can I? I just.
I'm just messing with you, man. You can do whatever you want. I was just kidding you. Why are you so serious?
Just watching this in real time, it's almost unbelievable. Like, is this the same Nuggets team? They looked really average and not like the defending champions in both of these games. In the first game, they almost pulled some BS out and tried to come back at the end. But in this game, there was no hope. They never had a shot from the outset. Gobert wasn't at the game for personal reasons. What a coincidence that the NBA doesn't want him there right when the Timberwolves are about to take a 2-0 lead. Kinda suspicious, huh? I'm kidding, of course. Gobert wasn't there because he was witnessing the birth of his first child.
That baby, I see you.
It's the baby, bro. It's gonna be there when you get back. We hope.
Right.
I mean, I'm just saying.
And congrats to him, Mazel Tov. But this is scary hours for the Nuggets because the Timberwolves did this to them without their potential Defensive Player of the Year candidate. The Timberwolves get Gobert back at home, up 2-0 after they just shut the Nuggets down. I'd be a little concerned if I were the Nuggets. Just because all that is happening in the Timberwolves' favor, I wouldn't think to just count the Nuggets out right away. That's the kind of stuff that, because the odds are stacked in your favor, you sort of relax. If anybody can do anything differently in this series and snatch one on the road, it's the Nuggets. But if they play anything like they did in the first 2 games, get those brooms out. I've been talking a lot about Anthony Edwards, and rightfully so. Everybody has. He's looked like MJ incarnate. But the person that we really need to give our flowers to is Cat in all of this. Throughout this entire run, he's been as consistent. This man doesn't even jump when he takes his jumpers. That's how much he's unbothered by the Nuggets defense. Then Ant hit the crossover to put Reggie Jackson on the ground.
Only 3 others have done it. And watch it again.
Right there, that was almost a proposal. I don't know what Reggie Jackson was doing down there, if he's proposing or not, but Ann said,
He crossed this man up so bad he had to propose to him. No, Reggie Jackson. Marrying your father is illegal in 49 states. Also, Jamal Crawford, I need him to announce every game.
Walker's face on defense. He's looking, smiling like I'm going to be here all night. He's on him like braces on crooked teeth right now, and Murray is frustrated.
And then the Nuggets were yelling at the refs like they weren't getting clamped by Nas Reed and Kyle Anderson. Sure, there were a couple of questionable calls when the Timberwolves first started to go on their run, but I think the Nuggets got a lot of those calls as well. The referees were kind of letting them play, and I think that's the way playoff basketball should be. Unfortunately, that favors the Timberwolves and not the Nuggets. So, Nuggets, you can kick and scream all you want to, but at the end of the day, they simply got outplayed. And then the Jamal Murray thing. Jamal Murray threw the ice pack or the heating pack onto the court in the middle of a live play, which could have seriously injured somebody. The worst part is, I think the person that was closest to stepping on it was actually a Nuggets player. So he could have ended up sabotaging his own team. And I don't know, I've never liked suspensions during the playoffs because I really feel like it turns series one way or the other. But, I mean, come on. If this was any other player in any other situation, I can guarantee that they'd be gone. Outside of maybe like 3 superstar guys who get the superstar treatment and wouldn't be suspended. But most everybody else would be suspended. I don't think that the superstar rule even applies in this situation. Throwing something onto the court, fans get ejected for that, literally. And they get banned for a certain period of games, sometimes life, just for throwing stuff onto the court. Now, I'm not saying that we should take this man away from his family or anything, no. But he should face some sort of repercussion. Whether that's a suspension or a fine or what have you, something needs to happen. You can't just throw objects onto the court because you're frustrated. And how did the Nuggets complete their hero arc so quickly? They went from the little engine that to could we stop this little engine? I don't know where and when the spectrum turned from the world loving the Nuggets to them immediately laughing at their demise. I think that's just part of the NBA landscape. Once you get your championship, it's time to move on. Maybe that's the way the fans see it. I don't know. If that's the case, everybody hates dynasties, but I feel like the dynasties that played back in the day would be even more hated now. The Nuggets went from America's sweetheart to somebody get the brooms out for these guys in a matter of 1.2 seconds flat. That was an extremely quick heel turn. So here we go, Game 3 in Minnesota.